Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, let me tell you about the latest special from Mike Lindell at MyPillow. The standard MyPillow, normally $49.98 for a limited time only, just $14.88 with promo code Joey. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener specials, and see all the specials. There's a limited quantity of just 10 at this special price. That's $14.88 with promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. What an evening we had. Donald J. Trump elected the 47th president, returning to the White House. The Republicans also regained control of the U.S. Senate. The U.S. House, still a lot of races yet to be decided. And some local sales tax initiatives just didn't quite get the approval of the voters. Lots to talk about on this special edition. Wow, what an evening it was as we were at the Heritage Foundation's Washington, D.C. headquarters last night watching the returns come in. What an honor it was to be able to broadcast from the Rush Limbaugh radio studios. Rush Limbaugh, of course, the grandfather, the person that made talk radio special for all of us. The Heritage Foundation some years ago named their studios in memory of this great legend, and it was just a pleasure to be at the Heritage Foundation on this special election day. The election, as we all know it, is yet still to be determined. I mean, yes, winners have been projected, but there's still a lot of loose ends to tie up. The election results are never official election night. Instead, you have the media outlets' decisions desk using the unofficial vote, along with historical trends, exit polling, and many other things to project winners. And that's just what they are. They're projected winners as of right now. And as of 1:36 a.m. this morning, the media pundits, the pollsters, all projected that Donald J. Trump would be our 47th president. Here's how it all came about in case you'd already thrown in the towel and gone to bed. Harris's campaign co-chair, Cedric Richmond, first came out to tell everyone that the vice president would not be addressing her supporters at Howard University as the campaign was awaiting additional election results. He said, "We'll still have votes to count. We still have states that have not been called yet. We will continue overnight to fight to make sure that every vote is counted, that every voice has spoken. So you won't hear from the vice president tonight, but you will hear from her tomorrow," he said. The vice president's office called what is considered a lid shortly after, meaning that no further public appearances were expected. She's all in, all done. Attendees at Howard were then told to start heading for the exits. Many remain hopeful for a potential Harris win, despite the former president appearing to close in on Harris. The decision desk headquarters was projecting him winning at that time 248 Electoral College votes to Vice President Harris's 213. At that point, you still had the blue wall, but it was weakening. Harris's lack of an appearance at her own campaign party was reminiscent of the 2016 election, when then Democrat nominee Hillary Clinton also opted not to speak at her so-called victory party in New York's Javits Center after it became clear that she too was going to be defeated by Donald Trump. You remember that? Remember how they had this big elaborate party plan? The Javits Center has the glass ceiling, and Hillary Clinton had made a big deal out of the fact that she was going to be breaking the glass ceilings. Well, she didn't exactly do that, nor did Kamala Harris. Now, at the time, Trump was projected winner in Georgia and North Carolina and was narrowly leading in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Arizona. Through each of those states, he could have won They were still counting ballots. Trump would likely only need to win one of the blue wall states, Michigan, Wisconsin, or Pennsylvania, to get the 270 electoral votes that he needed. The Harris campaign was arguing that they still had a narrow path to victory if she was able to win the blue wall states, even though the trends were not supporting her. Exit polls showed that Trump was making huge gains among Latino voters, that his margins in some of the outer lying areas were running even higher than expected, and that blacks were also supporting Donald Trump in record numbers. But then everything changed. Fox News called Pennsylvania, and you kind of knew they were leading up to this. They had been talking about it for about an hour, and it made it possible for others to also concur. You had The Hill soon after chime in. You had Newsmax also project Trump as the winner. And with all the media outlets making that call, it became impossible for Harris to have any path whatsoever to victory. And with that, President Trump projected the winner. And wow, what a victory! What a victory party started after that, as he secured a second term nearly 4 years after he left Washington under, we all have to admit, a cloud, because the Democrats had come after him every way they possibly could. The decision desk headquarters made the call after declaring Trump the projected winner of Pennsylvania and then Alaska, which gave him exactly 270 electoral votes. He defeated Harris in an election that saw a number of unexpected developments. For example, a criminal trial involving Trump during the campaign. We had 2 assassination attempts against a former president, and a change atop the Democrat ticket after Joe Biden dropped out of the race. I mean, we shouldn't have even been watching a Trump-Harris race last night. It should have been a Trump-Biden race. Donald Trump becomes the first president in more than 120 years to lose the White House and then come back and win it again. The last one to do so was President Grover Cleveland in 1892. He got the 270 electoral votes needed to win the White House following a roughly 100-day sprint of a campaign between he and Harris after Joe Biden dropped out or was forced out. Polling in 7 key battleground states showed very little separation between the 2 candidates right up until people started voting yesterday. Trump ultimately won a convincing victory. He flipped Georgia back into his column. He held North Carolina, and he is shattering the blue wall. In fact, the blue wall, I think we can safely say at this point, turned red. We now have a red wall rather than a blue wall. He could potentially, and again, all of these numbers are projections, but he potentially could win the popular vote, something that he did not do in 2016, and something that Republicans have only done once since 1992. That's yet to be seen. The former president and his running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, capitalized on voter discontent with inflation, the higher cost of living, a surge in illegals at the southern border, and just general instability abroad during the Biden administration. And people spoke loud and clear that they wanted a change. And they've been saying that for months now. And Kamala Harris has no one to blame but herself, because she and the Democrat Party completely ignored them. When people have said that they are tired of high prices at the grocery store, at the gas pump, they should have believed them. When people said that they didn't want illegals coming across our border to the detriment of Americans, they should have believed them. But they didn't, because typical of the Democrat Party and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they're the smartest ones in the room. They thought that they knew more about what was right for the American people or what was best for the American people than the American people did for themselves. And that never works out very good. It never has. It never will. The American people decided we're finished with this. We're not going to continue to have this administration lead us further into the hole, lead us further into misery. And that's what happened yesterday. Wow, what a victory. How exciting is this?
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
Continuing this election victory show, wow. Let's just dig a little deeper in how the victory came yesterday. How did we win the presidency again? How did we win control of the U.S. Senate and probably the U.S. House? Exit polls showed that Donald Trump again made huge gains among Latino voters. He picked up support among young men, particularly young black men, which was a demographic that Trump's campaign aggressively courted. He pledged to carry out the largest deportation operation in our history, to extend tax cuts that he signed into law in 2017, and to impose universal tariffs on foreign imports. Trump also pledged to roll back protections for transgender youth, to shut down the education department, and to curb environmental regulations. He's also signaled that he will seek to stock his administration with people who have been loyal to him and the cause, people who have been loyal to the conservative cause. He overcame what was expected to be a huge deficit among female voters. Harris had really leaned into the issue of abortion rights, arguing that government did not play a role in what they consistently called women's health issues, women's productive rights. She blasted Trump's picks for the Supreme Court justices who eventually overturned Roe v. Wade and allowed abortion to be a state issue. This was the first presidential election, of course, to take place since the end of Roe v. Wade. And the Democrats unsuccessfully tried to argue that the federal government had overstepped its bounds, specifically the U.S. Supreme Court. The election of Donald Trump for another term will most likely give the GOP and Donald Trump a chance to strengthen the conservative grip on the high court. And that can't be stressed enough. I mean, think about it. Trump potentially could appoint another couple of justices, which would just strengthen the conservative majority on the high court, not to mention the other federal judges that he'll have an opportunity to appoint. And that in itself can change our lives for decades to come. He, of course, back in 2016, and there's a lot of parallels between last night's victory, or I should say this morning's, early morning's victory, to the victory in 2016. I mean, Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton have to be trading notes right now. He spent the weeks after the election that he lost in 2020 with questioning the process, questioning whether or not it was a legitimate election. We all know there were issues. At times, we kind of hope that he just put it behind him and move forward. And I hope that he does. Of course, Trump has been under a cloud since leaving office. He's faced federal charges in D.C. in the 2023 over his efforts to remain in power because of January the 6th. He lost the civil case in the New York case where E. Jean Carroll accused him of sexual assault in a department store. Fannie Willis has gone after him, and the list goes on. I mean, any other person would have given up long ago and would not have even considered running for another term, not Donald Trump. I mean, think about it. He's convicted in a New York City trial, 34 counts, felony counts, just this past May. He was impeached twice during his first term with a promise that the Democrats were going to continue to go after him. A number of politicians and pundits pretty much just determined that he was politically dead. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell lashed out at Trump during a speech on the Senate floor. McConnell did not vote to convict Trump in his impeachment trial, but he did make it very clear how unhappy he is or was with Trump. If Trump had been convicted, it would have ended his political career and would have prevented him from running again, and his name would not have been on the ballot yesterday. At 78 years of age, Donald Trump is the oldest person in our country's history to be elected president, slightly older than Biden in 2020. He has declined to release detailed medical records, despite previously saying that he would have no problem doing so. People have questioned his health. But the fact that he has held multiple campaign rallies for days in these closing weeks kind of shows you the stamina the man has. I couldn't keep up with him. I couldn't keep his schedule. He will become just the second president in the nation's history to serve 2 non-consecutive terms. And, of course, this will be his last because the 22nd Amendment still says that you can only serve 2 terms. So he cannot seek re-election in 2028. What a day, huh? I'd love to get your comments on, did you stay up last night? Did you stay up to the bitter end? Or is this the first time you're hearing about it? Did you get up in time this morning for us to give you the good news? Send me a text. Email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Leave your messages on the MyPillow message line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Always use promo code Joey when you go to MyPillow.com and you take advantage of some of the great savings that Mike Lindell has to offer you. By the way, speaking of Mike Lindell, I saw him. He was at Mar-a-Lago last night when it became clear that President Trump would be speaking. They started showing some crowd shots in Mar-a-Lago, and Mike Lindell was right in the thick of it. He was right up front there. He's got some great deals for you. The standard MyPillow, which is typically $49.98, when you use promo code Joey, you're going to get it for $14.88. So go to MyPillow.com. There's a limit of 10. But go ahead and order 10 and give some for Christmas gifts. MyPillow.com, use promo code Joey. This year, I really thought I was going to have to boycott the holidays. I was going to lock myself away and not come out until 2025. But after finding PhD Weight Loss, you can bet I'll be at every holiday party I'm invited to. That's because PhD Weight Loss helped me take control with great confidence, support, and my new healthy body. The best part? PhD Weight Loss did it all without harmful drugs that keep you dependent on them to maintain your weight loss. It's a natural, medication-free approach to weight loss crafted to naturally diminish food-related thoughts, hunger, and cravings, making your weight loss journey more sustainable and enjoyable. Take it from me, I lost 33 pounds. The PhD Weight Loss Program teaches you not just what to eat and when, but also how to think differently about food and finally let go of those cravings and get rid of the hunger naturally. Don't lock yourself away this holiday season. Call PhD Weight Loss today at 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900, or go to myphdweightloss.com. More on the presidential race in just a moment. There were a lot of local races, of course, yesterday that were decided to, in addition to some ballot initiatives. People made it very clear yesterday they do not want more taxes. I'll give you the results of some of those in just a moment. In our area congressional races, William Timmons was elected to serve another term in the House of Representatives to represent the 4th Congressional District. Timmons defeated Democrat Catherine Harvey for the district, which covers much of Greenville-Spartanburg counties. He was first elected to Congress in 2018. He replaced Republican Trey Gowdy at the time, who decided not to run for re-election after serving 4 terms in the House. Ms. Harvey is the chairman of the Spartanburg County Democrat Party, founded an upstate marketing firm in Spartanburg. And the other name on the ballot, Mark Hackett, was the Constitution Party candidate. He came in a distant third. Over in the 3rd Congressional District, Republican Sherry Biggs won her first term in the U.S. House of Representatives to represent the 3rd District. Biggs defeated Democrat Brian Best for the district, which covers much of the western half of the upstate, including Anderson, Pickens, down to Greenwood counties, McCormick through there. That seat was previously, or is currently held, by Republican Jeff Duncan, who took office in January of 2011. Duncan did not run for re-election this year. Alliance Party candidate Mike Bedenbaugh finished in 3rd place. In South Carolina's 5th Congressional District, Ralph Norman he won easily with 61% of the vote, beating Evangeline Hundley, the Democrat. Down in the 7th District, Republican U.S. Representative Russell Fry cruised to an easy victory over Democrat challenger Mal Hyman. Fry was first elected to the seat just 2 years ago. He had received close to 64% of the vote when the race was called by the Associated Press just 2 hours after the polls had closed. Statewide results were will be certified by election officials, of course, later this week. Fry said at his campaign watch party at the Boathouse restaurant near Myrtle Beach, the opportunity is there for the next Congress to continue some really great work. He said, I still have to pinch myself in a way that a guy from Surfside Beach serves in the halls of government in the best country in the entire world. Fry campaigned on his allegiance to former President Trump, who helped the former state representative win the seat in 2022. He endorsed him in a crowded GOP primary. They were trying to unseat incumbent Tom Rice, a Myrtle Beach attorney who had voted to impeach Donald Trump after the January 6th protest. Other incumbents also won their re-election. Nancy Mace in the 2nd Congressional District will serve another term. Jim Clyburn, the only Democrat in the South Carolina delegation, won re-election to the 6th District. And Joe Wilson from the 1st Congressional District won his 13th term in the House of Representatives. Interestingly, a number of counties around the state asked voters yesterday about approving additional sales tax. In most cases, it was to fund road work. It appears, though, that voters are very clear. They're not interested in paying any more taxes, particularly just a penny sales tax. We know how that is, don't we? We'll add a penny now and tell you that everything will be taken care of. A few years later, we'll want another penny, then another penny. Well, voters weren't buying it yesterday. A proposed tax increase in Greenville County was rejected by voters. The intended increase would have helped to fix roads and bridges, according to county council. The 8-year tax would have generated more than $1 billion. It was pretty close. It was defeated by fewer than 8,000 votes. County Councilman Butch Kervin said that nothing changes. In a comment, he said, we'll continue to maintain the county roads. The state, using the state gas tax incrementally across the whole state, will gradually, over time, work on the roads. but it may take 30 to 40 years, he said. And that was the promise. That was how they tried to sell this additional tax to people was, hey, with the money we have now, with the gas tax, and remember, the gas tax was raised about, what was it, 6 cents over a 6-year period, a penny a year, and we were promised at the time that that was going to take care of our road needs. Now they say that it won't. I think that's why people are suspect of these type things. Over in Anderson County, voters also went to the polls with a major decision on whether or not they too would support an additional penny sales tax. The tax fund in Anderson would offer repairs and improvements to roads, intersections, bridges. They specifically talked about work on the Highway 81 corridor. However, with 100% of precincts reporting last night at about 11:48, the transportation sales tax question number 1 received a resounding no, with 52.83% of voters saying they did not want it. Now, it was a little quirky in Anderson because they had a question 2 about additional money, and that appeared to have passed slightly. Down in Charleston County, the Mark Clark extension, which has been debated under various names for over 50 years, now Charleston County voters dealt a crushing defeat to the best hope for funding the road project. The county's referendum to increase the sales tax there in Charleston was crucial to their effort, aimed at providing more ways on and off Johns Island. Again, this project has been talked about for decades. With its overwhelming near 2-to-1 voter rejection, yesterday Charleston County doesn't have another clear path to raise the $1.8 billion needed for their local share. Council Chairman Herb Sass said, "I'm surprised. We'll have to look at the numbers and see what it all means and decide where to go from here." Well, Mr. Sass, I can tell you what it means. It means that your constituents don't want to have to pay more taxes. They want you to spend their money more efficiently. Figure out how to do it with the money that you have. That's what they said. You don't have to study it too much. On the ballot in Charleston County was a simple yes or no question asking voters permission to impose a 0.5% sales tax for up to 25 years to raise $5.4 billion. There's about $432 million of which would have been dedicated to green space preservation. The referendum would have also provided funds for mass transit, maybe other road projects in addition to this particular project. The Mark Clark was the marquee project that would have taken most of the money, though. County Councilman Larry Kobrowski, who opposed the plan, said, "I think this has to be the end of that. The people have spoken loudly." Meanwhile, voters in Greenwood County did, in fact, approve a new sales tax and a use tax to help pay for several projects there. 63% voted in favor of the referendum in Greenwood. The sales and use tax there will be used to pay for projects including a new career center at Piedmont Technical College, which, I guess that's okay if you need a career center. It will also include a new public safety training center and other upgrades and improvements to municipal facilities around Greenwood County. And I think they were able to sell this in Greenwood because they had specific projects like that, and it wasn't just another penny being thrown at the roads. Because, again, people are tired of being told all we need is another penny and we'll fix the roads. We've heard that so many times, and it never happens. And people aren't falling for it again. It's just that simple. On our text line, texter Joey, I have to say that I'm very disappointed and saddened. I went to go vote and was turned away. I was not able to vote. They told me that they could not find me in the registration. After I gave them all the needed information and documents, it's real upsetting to know that my voice will not be heard. Trump 2024, God's got this. He's still in control. You're right, and I'm sorry to hear that. I'd love for you to email me more details. Just send your notes to joey@joeyhudson.com. I'd love to find out more about why you were turned away. And it's really just a reminder to always check on your registration. You can go online to scvotes.gov, put in your name and your address, and you can verify your registration there. Texter, Joey, who do I contact about TR voting? I'm told that because Trump's name is wrong on the ballot, that if you don't vote all Republican, it won't count. I'd love to hear more about this too. I haven't heard that Trump's name was wrong on the ballot. But regardless, if you voted for Trump, whether it was spelled right or not, it would have counted. Phil says, so the betting lines were running 3-1 in favor of Trump. My old racetrack days tell me that the polls should reflect the same odds, but sadly they don't. What does that tell you about the intelligence of the electorate? Well, they got it right. They were smart enough to ultimately make the right choice for sure. Albert on the text line says, Election day, it's pouring down rain in Lincoln County, Georgia. I'm glad that I took advantage of early voting. Yeah, we did get some rain. And if you did early vote, you probably are happy that you did. Pete says, hi, Joey. I was able to convince 2 people not to vote for Harris, but instead to vote for Trump. I didn't yell or act boorish. I frankly stated that I was voting for my wallet. While Trump is strategically not the best candidate, hopefully he'll not have to worry about election and get us on the right path. I think you're probably right with that as well. Whether you're replacing a broken appliance or maybe you're just upgrading, you're totally remodeling the kitchen, when it's time to get those new appliances, when you're ready for them, you don't want to have to wait weeks or even months to get started using them, right? Well, that's not the case when you shop with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse. With over 11,000 square feet and 1,500 appliances at any given time, you can buy today and use today quite often. I'm talking about shopping with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse in Pickens. It's worth the short drive over to Pickens. Jeff, Johnny, Kyle, the whole team over there, they'll take good care of you. They have an award-winning service department, expert installation, extended warranties, and at Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they treat you like family. You're more than just a credit card swipe to all the team over there. Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they're proud to offer Speed Queen, the only washer and dryers with manufacturer's warranties that cover parts and labor. You owe it to yourself, if you're looking for a new appliance, to head over to Pickens to Discounted Appliance Warehouse online at dawpickens.com, dawpickens.com. I know I keep saying this, but boy, what a day we had yesterday, didn't we? In addition to sending Donald Trump back to the White House, the Republican Party gained control of the United States Senate in the 119th Congress by winning key battleground races in 2024. The outcome will substantially influence what we're able to do over the next few years, regardless of the outcome on some of the other House seats. And we're still waiting on those. We'll still have more to tell you in the coming days. The Associated Press projected that the GOP won 51 seats last night. And there's still a few other Senate seats up for grabs and will be decided later today. In 2024, we had 34 Senate seats, with 9 considered battleground races that the controlling party could reasonably lose. In these contests, GOP candidates defeated several Democrat incumbents. Republicans controlling the Senate will have the power to approve or reject nominations to the federal judiciary, cabinet members, sub-cabinet offices, as well as general legislation. Let's look at some of the specific races. For example, in Ohio, Senator Sherrod Brown, a 3-term incumbent, lost to Republican nominee and businessman Bernie Moreno, whose candidacy was strongly backed by Republican vice presidential nominee Senator J.D. Vance. Moreno defeated Brown by 4 percentage points in a manufacturing-heavy state that's voted for former President Donald Trump in the last 3 presidential elections. This was one of the most favored races of all the challenge races yesterday. In Montana, another 3-term incumbent, Senator John Tester, lost to another Republican businessman and former Navy SEAL, Tim Sheehy. It really wasn't a surprise since Tester had been expected to lose. The polls had consistently shown Tester losing by about 8 percentage points. Now, we had other victories as well. Several Republican incumbents defended their seats in the battleground states. In Nebraska, for example, Senator Deb Fischer held her seat against what became a more competitive challenge than expected from an independent candidate, Dan Osborne. He's a union leader who closed the gap between himself and Fischer in the final weeks of the race. Fischer did benefit from a multi-million-dollar advertising blitz launched by the Senate Leadership Fund, which is a pro-Republican group that tried to come in to help her out in those final weeks. In Texas, big race there with Senator Ted Cruz. He won a third term against Democrat nominee, Representative Colin Allred. Texas, of course, a heavy red state, but this race became very competitive due to a large net migration into Texas from progressive states like California, for example, as well as the state's controversial abortion law, which prohibits the procedure at all stages of pregnancy with no exceptions. Cruz was a target by a number of groups. Vice President Kamala Harris, you may recall, even had a campaign stop there in the final weeks of the campaign. Even though she had no chance of winning Texas, she went there because of the abortion issue. Republicans didn't win everywhere, though. Maryland's open Senate seat, one that we thought would really pick up. Prince George's County Executive Angelo Also Brooks defeated former Governor Larry Hogan. This was a highly competitive race as well. Maryland's leans Democratic heavily. Hogan, though, was a two-term former Republican governor who was very popular. And many thought that he'd be able to pull it off, but in the end, he did not. Apart from some of the battleground states, several Senate races resulted in new winners who will alter the way the Senate looks. In California, and I hate to say this, Representative Adam Schiff will become Senator Adam Schiff. He won the Senate race for the seat that was formerly held by Senator Dianne Feinstein, the Democrat who was temporarily succeeded by Senator LaFonso Butler. Schiff also won a concurrent special election for the final 2 months of Feinstein's term and will resign his seat in the House of Representatives to join the Senate in the 118th Congress, granting him seniority over all the other senators elected in 2024. In West Virginia, Governor Jim Justice secured a expected victory there in the contest to succeed retiring Senator Joe Manchin. And then in Utah, John Curtis, a representative from Utah, he was elected to the seat being vacated by retiring Senator Mitt Romney. He expectedly beat Democrat nominee Caroline Glick, who had been losing to him by as much as 28 percentage points heading into Election Day. Over in Indiana, Representative Jim Banks was elected to the Senate seat being vacated by Senator Mike Braun, who was elected governor of Indiana. And then finally in New Jersey, Representative Andy Kim won the Senate general election for the seat formerly held by Senator Robert Menendez. Menendez, of course, resigned back in August after he was convicted of several federal corruption charges. The temporary appointee to that seat, Senator George Helmy, plans to resign so that Governor Phil Murphy can appoint Kim instead, giving him seniority over other senators when he begins his term on January 3rd, 2025. You had other things. For example, the Senate Republican Conference will probably have some significant changes when they go back into session and reorganize. You've got Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, who decided to retire after 17 years as the Senate Majority or the GOP Conference leader. They'll have that election when they all gather in just a few weeks to reorganize. The winner will become the Senate Majority Leader, one of the most powerful offices in the U.S. government. He or she has substantial control over the activities, what legislation is actually taken up in the Senate. And I'll have to say, Mitch McConnell is leaving none too soon. It is time for Mitch McConnell to hand over the reins of leadership to someone younger, to someone who has more energy, to someone who will listen to people and will listen to his fellow senators. That was a case to where Mitch McConnell stayed in office too long. In other ballot initiatives, and there were a lot around the country, from crime to recreational marijuana to issues about abortion, Florida voters rejected an abortion rights amendment and kept in place Governor Ron DeSantis' 6-week ban. The initiative failed to reach the required 60% threshold for passage. It was at 57%, where nearly all votes counted, according to The Hill. The measure faced an uphill battle in the red state, where President Trump, a Florida resident, said during the campaign that he would vote against it. The Hill notes that Florida is now the first state to defeat an abortion rights amendment since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. Missouri voters there approved a constitutional amendment that will overturn one of the country's strictest abortion bans. The New York Times noted that Missouri was the first state to enact an abortion ban after Roe v. Wade was overturned, and with a vote enshrining a fundamental right to reproductive freedom in the state's constitution. It's the first to overturn a ban through a ballot measure initiated by citizens. Abortion wasn't the only issue on the ballot, though. In Florida, a majority of Florida voters supported legalizing recreational marijuana, but the measure didn't gain enough support to pass. Constitutional amendments in Florida require a 60% majority, and Amendment 3, as it was known, had only around 55% of the vote. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined our mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Just click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, find me on YouTube. Be sure and like, subscribe, follow me on my YouTube channel. Just search for Joey Hudson. Appreciate you spending a few minutes of your day with me. Be sure and forward this edition of Just the Truth to some friends. Just click on the share button. Send it to a few of your contacts, because if we're going to build our community and if we're going to win in November, we got to build an army of conservatives. The way we beat Joe Biden is through educating people, and no better way than encouraging them to listen to Just the Truth. Hey, keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Your emails always welcome as well. Joey@joeyhudson.com. Don't forget to take advantage of the MyPillow special, $25 for the My Towels 6-piece towel set when you use promo code Joey. Just go to mypillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. We're back again tomorrow. Hope you will be too. Remember, God's got this. He's still in control.